A BIS podcast? What in the world? Are you asking yourself, are you about to waste 15 minutes of your life? Well, we don't think so, but hey, keep listening and find out for yourself because live from the Marvin Network, this is the BIS Podcast, where our goal is to bring you technology changes and local government updates and also a little bit of fun as well to help you and your team grow. I'm your host, Josh Green, joined by my co-host, Drew Wingington, and on today's episode, we talk to the two that started it all, the myths and not so much legends, BIS co-CEOs Britt Martin and Brandon K, on why they are starting the BIS podcast. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here today, and hey, let's get things rolling.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Josh.
No problem at all.
Yeah, definitely excited about hosting the podcast.
All right.
Actually, you're really not hosting. You're just going to be part of it. Josh and I are actually the ones in charge.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I meant.
So
Okay,
we,
good.
We kind of own this part of the Requiem per se.
Yeah, we don't own anything else, but we own this.
We'll make sure to put the copyright at the bottom then,
Yeah,
guys.
so-
Yes.
All right. Well, again, we're getting a podcast. This is the first podcast we're doing here at BIS. And again, thank you to Britt and Brandon and Drew. Again, me and Drew are the host of this. And our first podcast and being on, we're kind of getting to, show everyone out there or tell everyone out there why we're starting a podcast. And we couldn't think of anything better. The guys who founded the company, own the company, to kind of explain why we're doing this. So Britt and Brandon, I'll kind of turn it over to y'all guys. Starting this podcast is something I know y'all been wanting to do for a little bit. So what was kind of the start behind it? What's the thing y'all want to go with it?
Britt, you want to go first?
Oh, yeah, just a quick synopsis. We just wanted to start a podcast because we have such a tight-knit appraisal and tax and local government community. And as me and Brandon always say, it's easier to learn from somebody that already been through it and has the knowledge and kind of collect everything together. So we just kind of wanted to get all the information out there of, hey, what's going on, but also bring the community together because it's like a family, and to just make sure we're giving good information, real information. And speaking of real, I had plant-based mashed potatoes last night. It tasted just like the real thing.
Nice. Yeah, to piggyback what Britt said, we've been in this industry going on 20 years, and we'd really just found a love for the industry. It feels like family, going to conferences, we get to see everybody. It's like a reunion. And so our way of giving back and trying to be the industry, leader in what's going on and to get a quicker turnaround on information. It's coming at you guys really in different directions. And we really wanted to, between the website and just this quick podcast, to discuss changes, events. And so we'd also be curious on feedback on who would you like on the podcast as we grow and establish new sessions.
Okay, all right, guys. So again, that's why we're starting the podcast here at BIS. And Drew, I'll kind of let you take over now and let you get into it.
Yeah, so one of the things I would like to ask you guys is, what are some of the areas that you would like to look at with the podcast?
I think one of my first ones is just legislation changes, making them quick, precise, getting a few different lawyers in the industry on the line and speeding up some of the long pages of, changes that are coming from the state. And so I think that's going to help. Also, technology, providing, a verbal answer on where it's going and what other people are doing and not just BIS. Something I've currently am staying invested in is the AI that's coming out with Chat GPT. It's been a big thing. And I think people are very interested in the newer technology, not just AI, just in general. And, typically government's behind in some capacity with technology. And so we want to be a quicker, not only voice, but a solution to providing that technology and clearing all the, the red tape or the gray area of what does it mean? What is that? When it's maybe not your expertise, BIS wants to be the industry leader in that avenue.
Yeah, and definitely on that. Yeah, just making sure we know what we think we want, but we want the feedback from all of the community of what they want to hear. And like Brandon said, AI is turning into, I think this year, $1 billion industry. And I think the next 7 years, they predicted $1 trillion industry. And we get a lot of questions on not just AI, but hey, what is cloud? What does that mean? What is SaaS service? Any of the technology, GIS driven questions we want to be able to answer, but also the legislative law and anything going into effect. And it's making sure we're investing the time into our community on what they want to hear and just make sure that we are dealing with the questions they're asking. I always kind of laugh that Gatorade invests millions of dollars in the sports industry, but we always say that their top customers are people with hangovers. So at the end of the day, we just want to make sure we get it right on who we're talking to and investing in, and providing whatever answers and questions they have.
But we'll also provide Gatorade if people need it.
Hey, if you got a hangover, go.
Just
Orange
remember,
Gatorade.
guys. Remember H2O over Gatorade. Don't forget. We cannot forget the water boy in explaining that.
Definitely.
Now,
So
is one of the podcasts going to be about Brett Martin's collection of belly button lint? I heard that's going to be one of the podcasts. I'm really excited about that one.
We hope not. We hope for the whole appraisal industry that it is not going that direction.
Okay, good.
Bringing out the jokes, guys. But guys, when we talk about doing the podcast, and obviously what do you want your listeners, especially we talk about how we want our clients to listen to this, but also y'all are trying to reach out even deeper. What do you want people to take away from this podcast as we kind of continue forth?
I think it's bringing together central knowledge of not just IT, but legislation changes, inter office issues. Recently started a training department to help BIS become a better spokesperson slash, and I guess invested in the appraisal, and other entities, so we can get a better understanding of the workflow. So then we can build technology that helps support you. And so I think really we're only going to be as successful as the input or feedback that we get from those that listen to this podcast. And so we can figure out where you're struggling and find means to help you guys become more successful with less resources and more demand from the state and various, other parties. So that would be my hope.
Yeah, no, definitely the same. And also too, it just seems like it is a very caring community, and everybody goes to the same stuff. They need the same scenarios. And it is nice to hear that when we go to conferences, people are like, hey, how do you do this? Or how do you do this? Talking to other appraisal districts, tax offices, local government entities, and they're so much willing to help each other. And I think that's what I like about this. And starting the podcast, a lot of times they just need to link to, oh, who else is dealing with that? Or who else has had this? And it's nice when we can connect those people together. Like, oh yeah, so-and-so district had that same problem because they called us. So at the end of the day, I think it is just jumping that knowledge and helping connect the dots and connect people together.
All right. Well, I've heard some of those crazy stories at some of these conferences. Now we won't name anybody by name, of course, but you talk about when y'all go to these conferences and you're able to greet people and share with them. What is the biggest thing? Again, you talk about the community, Brandon, and also I know you mentioned everything, talking about BIS and talking about your employees as being leaders, and you want them to grow as leaders. What would you want people to take away from that, or with our clients listening, about us being leaders and kind of continuing forth and growing?
It's really hard to say. I think it's really, honestly, it's kind of corny, but it's about self-discovery. And I think finding your blind spots, and whether it's a company with blind spots, a department with blind spots, or even an individual. The only problem is, most people want to point the finger today. And I think it's more of we need more of a commitment of people working on themselves. And so, yeah, at BIS, we do have this leadership learning management that we're building each month. It's just basically every team members to listen to a 45-minute podcast so they can build themselves up. For those that don't really listen to podcasts or look for self-growth, right? We all need it, but sometimes it's hard for anybody to find someone to help them with leadership. And so with Entree Leadership, which is Dave Ramsey's organization, we're trying this avenue. And the idea is that no matter where you go to work, that if you leave BIS, that you leave a better leader than when you got there. We can do that. And I really think that goes for this industry, for the amount the state's putting on you guys, from the taxpayers demanding more. And so I think sometimes we have to slow down and go, okay, what can I do today or this week to really find where my blind spots are to improve whatever issues I may have. And we've all got them. I think the real key is though figuring out where you need improvement and working on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that. Just reflection and trying to be the best that you can be and improving yourself daily. And we talk about that 1% change a day at the end of the year. That's a drastic change. And just making sure that you set those up processes and goals. And at the end of the day, you're not necessarily focused on the goal. If you set the process up to get to the goal and say you're going to get to the goal, you'll get there. And just kind of setting that up for the community and also for what we do internal in BIS.
Definitely, guys. And Drew, I'll let you take back over now.
That was really good, guys. I'm going to give you props for that.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're still
They don't
getting
call.
checked, Drew.
They don't call him the best color man in the business for nothing, folks. So, guys, we're getting kind of wrapping up on this our first podcast, and again we thank you all for joining. Again, me and Drew are having a blast as we continue to do as many as we keep doing these. But for one thing, or if I can ask, what is one thing that you would like your listeners or our listeners to know as we go along with these podcasts? What's something or the number one thing, if you can think of right now, that you want people to get out of this podcast?
I'd say just a sense of better understanding of technology and legislation, but the root of it, I think, is just being the best version of yourself today.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Being the best you can be and just not comparing to others, but having others help you and you help others in the community. And then just one good piece of advice: when I'm in a good mood, act like I'm in a bad mood so no one runs my good mood. So at the end of the day, hopefully that helps somebody.
I thought you were going to say every day, just be awesomer.
Oh, yeah, or that. Yeah.
Quick and to the point, gentlemen. Well, Drew, again, we're about to, wrap things up, and you have anything to add before we kind of sign off?
Yes. Be great. Don't choose tomorrow to be great. You can be great today.
No, that's a good saying. I always say we're a competitive group and we all laugh about it, but I laugh a little bit more.
And we laugh with you and at you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, we're
Thank you,
excited
guys.
about kicking this off. So.
Hey, no problem at all, guys. Thank y'all for joining us. Spoken like true shaman. Again, thank you all for joining us here on this first podcast. From Drew and myself, we'll be continuing these, and we hope that you tune in every other week and whenever we kind of get these going. So again, we thank y'all all for joining. Britt and Brandon, again, thank y'all for taking time out of y'all's vacations. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all's busy schedules to join us today.
Yeah.
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, Drew. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thank y'all so much. Drew, appreciate it, my man. Looking forward to keep doing it with you.
Hoorah.
Once again, thank you for joining us here for the first edition of the BIS Podcast. Thank you again to Britt Martin and Brandon K for being on with us. And join us next time as myself and Drew will be chatting with the new training department manager we have here at BIS, Jackie Martin. Once again, thank you all, and until next time, so long and goodbye.